Hello and welcome back to Disco Elysium, the final cut. As far as I remember, what we did last time around was with last time around, I mostly mean the last recording session, but most recently, talked with this woman here, whose name I've completely forgotten, about if she would like a drug lab in here, and she respectfully declined, but agreed to go out of here and leave the place alone when she'd finished her work. So she told us to grab a cube from in town, and then we basically ended it there because it meant our next, port of call in this mission was to go back to town, which we're not going to do right now. So instead, what we'll do is we will continue on towards I wanted to say a cardinal direction. I want to say north, but really it's just up. Um, and we'll explore the rest of the coastline. A dead phone, a smashed receiver, like someone hung up too hard. Do we have anything on this side that we haven't explored? I don't think so, but we can go up here. Yes, we haven't seen that yet, I don't think. But there is quite a lot here. Did we go in here? Or can we even go in here? Does not look like it, no. Can you go up here? Yes, you can. And there's even people there. Feld Electrical Recherche et Développement. Research and development. Necessity-driven architectural design at its finest. About that.
And Mikhail noticed the windows, especially with how there are no windows on the south side. This was to deal with.
Blond man stands next to his son, pointing to the weather-worn ruins. He sees you approaching and smiles.
You officers, come to investigate the historic subtext of West Martinez? I'm Tran Heilostam. You must be Kim Kituragi, right? I was just telling my son about this building. Not a lot of people realize the historic significance here. Very rich in hypertext.
Nice to meet you.
The lieutenant nods. Hold on, hypertext?
Yes, hypertext. Young Carp and the collection of cultural hyperlinks.
Uh-huh. Wait, what was that about the windows before?
Oh yes, so Mikhail. They had to deal with monitor glare, especially in the summer. They still had vector monitors back then. That was 49 years ago. So they didn't have windows on the south wall.
You and Kim know each other?
No, I can't say that we've met before, but I've heard of Kim, of course. Mikhail, say hi to the officers.
He rests his hand on the boy's shoulder. The child stays hidden behind the hem of his father's coat, clutching to his worm-themed coloring book.
Mikhail's a little tired today. We spent all night trying to run Orbis on his radio computer. Have you heard of it? It's a programming language used in Grad. Quite tricky, but he wanted to play this Grad-made adventure program. We've been getting really into verbs lately.
The man speaks in the artificial cadence of a professor, or someone who's been on too many radio shows.
Yep.
But I assume you're not here for giant worms when there are so many real things to see. Just as I was telling Mikhail before, this is where the Coalition landed in '08. We could be standing on what is the most interesting landmark in Revachol West.
He points to the building again.
Wow, get a load of this guy. He really enjoys his trivia. The Orbis programming language was named after its inventor, Victor Orbis, a cybernetician from Grad. They run Vox in the Occidental countries.
What's so fascinating about an empty old building? Well, I seem to think that he's more talking about the exterior than the interior.
Aha! But it's not just any empty old building.
He raises his hand to his eyes, springtime sun warming his handsome face. All four of you turn to admire the mural before you.
What not a lot of people know is this used to be the R&D department of Felt Electrical. And Felt, which now sells ink cartridges mostly, was once a top dog in the turn-of-the-century cybernetics boom.
Hold on, what's R&D?
Research and development? You know the thing is written right up there? Look at the building looming over you.
It looks old and weathered, with seagulls picking apart its stone and metal carcass. Bushy undergrowth has taken hold of the collapsed rooftop. Some kind of bird has set up a nest on a broken windowsill.
I don't think I've ever heard of this Feld Electrical.
That's not surprising. Only a vestigial ink cartridge and ferrotape manufacturer remains.
He adjusts his suit jacket.
They started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries ago. After an aggressive move to Revachol, Feld became a global player in the emerging personal electronics market of the pre-revolutionary era. Still, Tricentennial was beating them in business machines. But Feld had an ace up their sleeve, or should I say they were developing an ace up their sleeve. I'm mixing my metaphors here.
What was that ace?
It was here in Martinez, possibly in this very building, that they developed prototypes for a tape computer.
A tape computer?
An elegant folding mechanism of rollers and ferrotape ribbons, portable enough to be a take-it-home solution. Revolutionizing business machines, possibly even bring them to the average consumer. Which is a feat of engineering even today's giants, Rehm, ICN and ZAM, haven't achieved yet.
He grins, admiring the sentence he just produced.
He assumes something like a combat stance, facing the wind.
What happened?
Indeed. What?
The revolution!
The boy wipes his nose on his sleeve.
Unfortunately, their moonshot project never made it to the market. Feld's move to Revachol backfired. The revolutionary government liquefied their assets and expropriated those very advanced prototypes. Possibly from this very building, or one of the adjacent ruins.
He pauses, pointing to the other building, then continues.
All of this was built by Feld, even the boardwalk. Wild Pines built Martinez proper as a resort for their middle management. Feld built this side of town for R&D.
You're saying that Feld Electrical built this boardwalk?
Yes, they even built a pleasure wheel, but that got destroyed in the war.
What is a pleasure wheel? Does he mean a Ferris wheel, or does he mean something less appropriate?
A pleasure wheel?
Okay, I like that he's as confused as I am. The lieutenant looks wistfully at the horizon, as if picturing gondolas rising to the sky.
Yes, to lure in their star engineers. This part of Martinez was nothing but reeds before Feld arrived. They had to make the prospect of living here attractive. It was supposed to become a global center for innovation in cybernetics. But history had other plans.
What happened to the engineers, the company people?
Oh, I'm afraid it didn't end well for the boys. But this story is a bit too dark for little Mikhail here. Now, if you were to ask about tape computers...
Wasn't what I was asking about.
Wait, is he saying that we should just bypass the excesses of the revolution?
Mikhail, he means they all died at the hands of the communists.
Officer, I told you this chapter of history wasn't on Mikhail's curriculum yet. Let's keep this kid-friendly.
Just pull it forward a bit in the curriculum.
The boy looks first at you, then back at his father, confused.
What did the revolutionaries do with those advanced tape computers?
They used them for military communications, but also to write and send out press releases. The most notorious example being Le Décret de Mars.
What was that?
What's the Mars Decree? I mean the radio transmission sent out to news agencies and world governments by the newly created Commune of Revachol on the 7th of March in the year 02.
A short-lived legislative foundation for a short-lived utopia.
It's a beautiful piece of text, actually. A singer-songwriter I know, Charette, called it a love poem to Revachol on her political concept album, Bon Baiser dans ce Lind. You should read it. Every local library in Revachol stocks a copy of the decree.
And I probably have already read it.
I tried to get Mikhail to memorize it. Tried to. Someone was much too interested in worms to be paying any attention.
How did those tape computers work? Did they work like radio computers?
Actually, no one knows. No one even knows what a computer made entirely of tape would look like. But word has it, they were very elegant, exquisite, alien-looking turn-of-the-century hardware.
He raises his finger, remembering something.
Buckle up.
10 years ago, I did a little freelancing, I guess you could say. I was a special consultant for an exhibition at the Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre in Vredefort, Oranje. It raised the same questions, and we had lengthy discussions with Paul Ockerman, who was head curator at the time. This was before the twins Keith and Guy Hughes joined the team, trying to...
Wait, did he just say Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre?
Yes, he did.
He did it. He said Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre, like it's the most natural thing in the world.
He certainly did.
What the hell is a Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre? And who the hell are Keith and Guy Yost?
Okay, the Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre? Hello, come on. Keith and Guy Yost? What are you talking about?
The Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre for Contemporary Art. The exhibition itself drew on Lagerman's notion of memory, and so there were some parallels. That's why the head curator, Paul Ockerman, chose to...
You're making this up. Kim, is he making this up?
In fact, I'm not. The Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre is a place you can visit if you're ever in Vredefort and are ever in the market for an exhibition space / contemporary art research centre.
He clears his throat. I don't think I want to visit the Wompty-Dompty-Dom-Centre, if I'm being honest.
But perhaps I should return to the tape computers. As I was saying, the device itself was very elegant, fragile even. One could write directly on the tape using a special chemical solution. The machine would then analyze the handwriting, perform operations, and project output onto a white screen. It was a beautiful, delicate thing.
Made of black film and folding tape structures.
Cool.
Very, very cool. Though I understand the socio-economic causes of the revolution, it pains me to imagine the revolutionaries setting fire to this precious device. But so they did. The felt playback experiment vanished into the fires of '07.
Wait, the Feld playback experiments?
Yes, the official name of the prototype. Some sources report it as the Felt Playback Experience, but those are incorrect.
Of course they are. Why did the revolutionaries destroy it?
Who knows? Maybe it was an accident, or maybe they didn't want the technology to end up in the wrong hands. Either way, they're all gone now. All 3 versions of the prototype. Nothing but debris and ashes remain inside that building.
He takes a step back. The boardwalk creaks mournfully in the wind. Wanted to ask something else.
But of course, what else?
You look like someone who has money. Do you have money?
I do have some money, yes, but that's not what's really important here.
He brushes it off like it's not a thing at all.
He's not gonna give you money. What are you doing? Clearly you were just profiling. No, I mean, come on. You need the money. If it's not a thing, he can give you some.
Could I have some of that important money?
Oh no, I don't have it on me, officer. I was talking in more general terms.
He looks uncomfortable, his left hand squeezing his son's shoulder.
I'm just spending time with my kid here, showing him around the lesser-known parts of our hometown. It wouldn't be wise to carry huge amounts of cash on such expeditions.
Not that he would have to worry about being robbed. He looks surprisingly buff. Does he work out?
By the way, do you work out?
I do some Lomantang stick fighting now and then.
Lo Mantang stick fighting is a form of martial arts originating from the island of Lo Mantang. It uses slender wooden sticks for confronting the opponent.
A form of martial arts from the Isle of Lo Mantang, right?
Actually, a great many cultures have their own version of stick fighting, such as the sacred Mabolo tradition of the Harli people. The name deriving from the butterfruit tree traditionally used for crafting the long, slender sticks, whereas the sticks used in other cultures...
You doze off as he paints you a comprehensive picture of the history of stick fighting among mankind, seasoning it with unexpected pop culture references. Man, he's good at speaking. People must love him.
But anyway, I'm boring you with details again. You were saying?
I don't really remember what I was saying.
Then I guess everything got said, right? The drizzle. It never seems to stop, does it?
Yeah. Great. Thank you for all the interesting information.
No, thanks to you for having me and little Mikael here to pick your brain. A very interesting conversation indeed.
Pick your brain? If anything, this was rather one-sided. He did the talking. Whatever.
Yes. Wait, we can actually look at it, can't we?
You see,
Yeah.
a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D.
I mean, that's not necessarily what it says here. Okay. What's in the box? Apparently 1 real 16. What do we have here? Another power box. It charges nothing now. It's empty. And in this, most of that. And 5 real. Jesus. Okay. The fence blocks the path. No way on from here. Well, we should go check out this place then, right down here, because I saw some people there. Probably the people we were looking for, actually, considering they're looking through the mud. First of all, what is this? Oh. 45 cents. Not very impressive. No boat in the boathouse today. And, oh, magnesium and oversized superstar sunglasses. What's this route? The boathouse is shoddily constructed. A strong breeze might blow it over. Or a light breeze. 115? Nope. Wait. No? Okay. I don't even know where I'm going right now. Apparently there is quite a lot of stuff around here. And there's woods. Give me that money. Give me whatever's in this box. Palm People. Barred off, I guess. Not only barred shut, it is inaccessible. Okay. And these boards. 20 cents. Can you exit through here? Probably not. Entre interdit. Entry forbidden. An old ticket taker booth, no longer in operation. People pay money to park here? Well, no one would pay now. I mean, there's still a car parked here. Of course, not being paid for, I guess. Ancient paint is peeling off the roof of this shaded bench covered in rust. What about this mural?
A scattering of bullet holes is spread across the cracked wall, reaching from one corner to the other.
Why this many bullet holes?
A row of ghostly shades stand facing the wall. There are many of them, a dozen at least, their heads lowered and eyes blindfolded. It's quiet, no sound,
Firing
no
squad.
movement. 10 meters away, other shades are lined up in an orderly manner, automatic rifles primed. A gust of wind blows by. The coats of the firing squad flap slowly in the breeze. A single person stands on the side. Droplets of rain fall on the wooden planks, the surrounding sand dunes. The clouds block out any rays of light. A long time has passed since the moment of this fusillading. Rain and brine have since washed all the blood away. Not a trace remains.
What is this?
The abundance of bullet holes leads to two options. Either an inordinate amount of executions were performed here, or they did not use a conscience round, where only one soldier has the loaded rifle. Looks like this was a mass execution with everyone fully armed.
Well, that's how the conscience round. Yeah, because I've heard before that they occasionally used to, if they were executing someone, that they made, the reason they made a whole bunch of people shoot at that person was so that, you know, you didn't know who actually was the one who killed him. But I always assumed, I don't know why, I assumed all of those rifles were loaded. But now that I think about it, it technically makes, although I don't know if you could tell, can you tell if you shoot an unloaded rifle? Can you tell by the sound it makes, by the recoil you have? That'd be interesting to know. Or if maybe they were just loaded, I mean, like, bow ammunition into it that just, you know, made a bang and didn't actually shoot out something. But yeah, I always assumed all rifles were loaded when they were doing something like that. But it makes sense, if you're only killing one person, it makes sense to just have one rifle loaded. Look at the people against the wall.
A host of men, probably in everyday clothes, ragged from the conflict and covered in dust. They were not sitting, a common practice for executions in some nations, as demonstrated by the height level of the bullet holes.
I don't think I've actually ever, I mean, I've never seen any executions anyway, but from any pictures you see or in any movies or whatever, I don't think I've ever seen sitting at executions. Like people were always standing or like tied up to something, be that maybe a chair, in which case I guess they were sitting, or like being tied up in general. Like if you've watched me play through Return of the Obra Dinn, that had one. It was first of all on a ship, but it had someone like suspended with a rope from one of the masts, I guess. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'd never seen a sitting mass execution.
They stand, facing the wall. It's impossible to discern any details about their personality or background.
Look at the line of soldiers.
7 men in combat uniforms and dark coats, holding automatic rifles aimed at the people. Soldiers from some side, but from which one? Men of duty, dark duty.
Who are they?
Murderers, twisted by orders, young boys forced into killing.
Yes, but not exactly what I was asking. Look at the person standing on the side. Commander.
The commandant, the one who gives the order. Machine gun fire crackling through the air. The lights of the muzzle flashes dancing on his face.
Him, who was who in this execution?
I don't know. I don't know who died here, lined up beside that horrible wall. It could have been any of the parties involved in the revolution. Perhaps the ones executed here were the loyalist conservatives, killed by the communists at the start of the Civil War. Or it could have been the communists, put to death during the last stretch of the conflict by the coalition forces.
Remember what Trent Heidelstein said about Veld?
What if it was Veld personnel when their assets were being seized by the revolutionaries?
Another likely scenario.
Lieutenant nods.
Or maybe...
You mentioned coalition forces. Could it have been them against the wall?
Yeah. It's very unlikely the coalition forces were the ones who died here. They were always the last ones against the wall. To be honest, if a coalition member was anyone in this situation, it was the commandant, the superior giving the orders.
I like how we're saying goodbye to the wall.
A cold sea wind blows away the figures.
Alright. Then I think now it is the time to speak to our cryptozoologists over there. At least I assume that's them. This section of the coast hasn't been used in decades. Hello, sirs. Would you happen to be into cryptozoology? Yes.
Here we go. Nice and easy. No way out, little guys. Not out of this gem.
I know your voice, Morel. You're in my head.
There's a cylinder on the ground in which the man is arranging some netting. It looks like some kind of trap. He notices you.
Who's there? Oh, the police. Hello, officers.
His self-conscious enthusiasm renders his movements ungainly. He looks like your understanding of a scientist.
Is that the police? Why are the police here?
Don't worry, Gary. I'll handle it.
You must be Morel, the cryptozoologist.
To what do I owe the pleasure?
That's sarcasm. He takes no pleasure from your appearance.
You don't seem too happy to see the RCM.
Oh no, it's all right. I'm just busy. What's this about?
Lena sent me. She's been really worried about you and is waiting for you to get back.
Of course. Thank you for passing along the message. That damn waterlock is broken, and we can't go all the way around the AL-81.
Yeah, let's just not. Yeah, the waterlock's been fixed. It was fine when I crossed it.
Oh, good. We should really be getting back. Gary could use a hot shower and a warm bed.
Did he say we can go back now?
That sort of just sounds like the thing someone who's like 85 and half deaf would say.
Yes, Gary. We can go soon. If you see Lena, tell her I won't be long.
Sir, your wife is waiting for you.
I just have to do one more round. See if the phasmid has taken the bait. Then we go in.
He refastens a bit of netting that has come loose in the wind.
For all his passion, this man is diligent and patient. You could learn things from him.
Tell me about this phasmid you're looking for.
Which is why we've been knee-deep in the reeds laying traps for him.
The first part of your sentence was missing there, Morel. I don't know if you noticed. It went something like this. Well, first of all, it's damn difficult to find. What makes it so difficult to find, Morel?
Good question. Being a phasmid of the order Phantasmodea, a ghost insect, it disguises itself as plant matter. In this case, the reeds. Awful lot of reeds around, aren't there? And I suspect it may have also developed other specialised techniques to protect itself from predators, or scientists in our present case.
What sorts of specialized techniques is the phasmid using to hide itself?
It's my hypothesis that it has evolved certain electrochemical defences that allow it to interfere with animal perception, impeding pattern recognition, confusing the visual cortex. But I cannot describe how these defences work, much less how they evolved, without studying a live specimen.
A ghost insect, he said? These people are looking for a ghost.
Ghost insect. So you're ghost hunters.
No, that is precisely what we're not. We are zoological specialists, looking for an extant species of phasmid.
How big is this phasmid?
I'm expecting it to be quite giant. One known species of phasmid, called the Megaphasmodea zoensis, is about the size of a grown man's forearm. So,
He leaves the conclusion up to you. Why are you so interested in this stick bug? It doesn't seem to be as colourful as some of the other cryptids I've heard about.
typical rookie assumption. Insects are much more sophisticated creatures than those unversed in zoology give them credit for.
Of
Even
course.
simply catching a glimpse of the Insulindian phasmid would be the apex of of any cryptozoologist's career. But to study it and its defences, find out how it stayed hidden so long.
He shakes his head. What have you discovered about it so far?
Very little, I'm sorry to say.
Of course.
No one's ever captured a specimen, so all our information is based on first and third-hand accounts.
So no one's ever found one?
Not yet. That's what makes it a cryptid.
Yes, of course.
Just out of curiosity, if there's no proof of its existence, how do you know it's real?
You're asking reasonable questions there, Kim. You should not be asking reasonable questions.
I know it's real.
The cryptozoologist says brusquely enough that even he seems taken aback by it.
It's clear that his obsession with the phasmid is driven by something more than the pure pursuit of scientific advancement.
By which I mean, I've heard enough first-hand accounts to believe quite firmly that the Insulindian phasmid is more than mere superstition.
Lena said there has been a sighting of it here in Martinez.
Yes, the most recent sighting was by a couple of teenagers along the coast here. That's what brought us to Martinez specifically. It's the first credible sighting in several decades. Admittedly, it's an unusual location for this species, but with all the sewage runoff upstream, it probably doesn't matter much anymore.
Maybe the Insulindian phasmid has died out?
I have to resist the thought. Such an extraordinary creature is doubtlessly highly resilient. After all, it's generally thought to be capable of parthenogenesis.
Ooh, parthenogenesis. Fancy words.
He means asexual reproduction. The females of the species don't need to mate to produce viable eggs. This makes it easier for a species with a small population to survive.
That's pretty clever.
Yes, the Insulindian phasmid is a very clever insect. That's why it's so damn difficult to catch. But as a scientist, I'll try my best to remain dispassionate.
Tell me more about these traps.
Well, They may not look impressive, but Lena designed them quite cleverly, so I'm sure they'll do the trick.
Just give me a second here. Okay. Lena designed the traps?
Yes.
He says with some pride. How do the traps work?
Simple. Attracted by the locusts, the phasmid crawls down the funnel and, having eaten its fill, can't get back out. At least, that's the intention. The net isn't a perfect solution, but we didn't want to use anything that might damage the specimen's delicate exoskeleton.
What are you using as bait?
Locusts. Nearly all known phasmids are herbivores, of course. But we've hypothesized that the Insulindian phasmid might occasionally prey on other insects.
You're telling me that it is known that nearly all known phasmids are herbivores, and somehow you've come to the conclusion and made the hypothesis that your specific one isn't. And you're not only saying that he isn't a herbivore, you're saying that he occasionally preys on other insects. So you're not even saying, oh, it's definitely eating a lot of insects. It sometimes might do, other than all the other members of its species. That is crazy.
Inside the traps, a number of locusts crawl and tumble over one another in a tiny, chittering swarm. A meat-eating stick insect? Does it pretend to be the reeds as part of its ambush behavior? This seems unlikely.
Carnivorous stick insect. Seems unlikely.
Thank you for your opinion. We have also included plant material in the traps to satiate your skepticism.
So you're telling me the locusts are pointless. What will you do if these traps won't work?
They'll work, I assure you. The predatory hypothesis, using locusts as bait, accounts for the failure of previous efforts by other teams, which use plants. We have given this some thought.
Yes, of course. The reason why previous teams failed to, capture this imaginary animal is because they used plants and not locusts. I see.
The traps do seem to be deftly and thoughtfully constructed. It's clear the cryptozoologist's wife knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing under the pretense that all of her assumptions are correct. Let me ask you about something else.
Yes. What?
Lena seems pretty eager for you to return.
And I'm eager to return to her, I assure you. But I can't leave before we finish with these traps. My wife understands that just as well as anyone.
You look south where Lena would be, so it is north what the direction we're traveling in.
Come on, Morale. We've been soaking out here for days. It's time to go back.
And leave the traps? Absolutely not. I won't let Lena down.
Come on, she wants us back. I'm soaked up to my nuts over here. We'll both catch reed crabs if we don't dry out soon.
I didn't know the phasmid was so important to Lena.
Of course it's important to her. She's seen it. A verified sighting, on record. One of only 4 this century, and it's hers.
Really? She sighted the phasmid? She didn't tell me that.
Yes, that's how we first came to know one another, in fact. But that's her story to tell, not mine.
Coughs, then continues.
Suffice to say, it's long been our dream to find proof of the Insulindian phasmid together. I can't abandon course now.
Another cough, into his fist this time. Maybe you could go back to the whirling, warm up, and come back to check the traps later.
No, no, no. The traps need to be monitored on a regular schedule. What would we do if the phasmid were to starve while we were sipping tea at the hostel?
You're telling me the phasmid would starve in about half a day? That seems like a pretty inefficient phasmid.
He's dead set on this. I could go for some trap setting.
What if we check the traps for you?
I didn't expect you to take such an interest in our work here, officer.
He looks at you with obvious surprise. Chaos is my method. I am its scion.
Well, be that as it may, I'd really appreciate the help.
Where are these traps?
There are 4 in total. One is to the south, on this little peninsula, by the boathouses there. It's very near.
That's telling me the other 3 are not near. Go on.
Another we set in Land's End, to the northeast. It's behind a small sand dune there, on your way to the old radio tower, after the church.
Of course. By the way, I really like the name Land's End. I don't know why.
The third is set near the canal, where you crossed, by a concrete slab. A big thicket of reeds going up the slope, and among them,
He gestures to the trap in front of him.
you should check at least one of those before returning to this one, since I just said it. This one's more of a technicality, but still, better safe and stupid than sorry.
That seems like a lot. Do we really have time for this extracurricular venture?
What? Are you two having fun?
Even relative to examining a week-old corpse, I'm not sure mucking about in the reeds qualifies as fun. But have it your way, detective.
What do I do if there's a phasmid in one of the traps?
Bring it to me at once. Just make sure the trap is closed tight.
He's not comfortable with the possibility that you'll claim the find, but he's lying about this even to himself.
What if I encountered a phasmid in the wild?
That's highly unlikely, officer. But in the event you do, I'll spray you with a pheromone mixture I developed.
Please don't.
It's made of musk and research chemicals. The pheromone should attract the insect to you, or at least prevent it from bolting at the sight of you. It's quite potent. Will last you about a week.
Yeah, I don't want this, thank you very much.
Your choice. As I said, the chances of you encountering the phasmid are next to 0.
But you feel you should have it on you. Something bad might happen. Don't mess around. Take the pheromone. It'll make you sexier.
Alright, spray me with lots of pheromone. Give me the experience. He douses you with the odd smelling spray, a double helping as you present your other armpit, and then gives you a satisfied nod.
I hope you're not buying this. He dispenses it without letting you touch the canister, so it would be precious like holy water.
It is precious. A single dose cost me 50 real to develop. Not that I expect you to understand self-financing one's own research.
He looks at the lieutenant with disdain, then puts the spray back in his pocket. Alright, let's get to it.
Right, which means you two can pack up and go back to the whirling.
Finally, someone's talking sense.
Thank you for your help. Gary and I will start breaking down camp. If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. We'll be gone once you get to it.
If it's more cryptid-related business you want to discuss, you'll have time for that later too. But what if the information is vital? On the hunt.
How did you become a cryptozoologist?
I've just always liked animals and puzzles. Searching for cryptids is a bit of both.
So you're living your childhood dream out here.
It's not child's play. Just because I have to traipse through the mud every so often.
His eyes narrowed. That's not what I was saying, though. Why not just be a zoologist? Real animals are puzzling too?
Real. I know you think one is a respectable profession, while the other is superstition. Everyone does.
I don't. It's a profession just like any other. There's lots of profession out there that produce no real results.
Indeed. My methods do not differ from other scientists. I simply draw upon a wider variety of evidence. And I have more
Excuse
hope
me.
that something truly surprising might happen.
And has anything truly surprising ever happened to you?
No, as I said, I have yet to catch a cryptid, although I have come close. Close enough to keep trying.
Yes, that's almost what's written there. What kinds of evidence do you use?
Everything from forgotten regional lore to newspaper accounts, like the one that brought us here, to look for the phasmid. I keep a very open mind.
He's interested in things that people believe that scientists don't.
You think other scientists don't listen to ordinary people enough?
Most establishment scientists only care about reputation and remuneration. Not real research, and certainly not the truth. They're a cowardly lot, and both the field and basement archives can be dangerous places.
So you have never discovered a cryptid?
No. Very few cryptids are ever discovered, and not for a lack of trying. To stay hidden is a cryptid's primary quality. It's even in the name, cryptid.
So how many cryptids have been found?
Of the list of cryptids kept by the Cryptozoological Society of Chemnee, which is 4,082 items long, about 2,000 have been confirmed as hoaxes.
Mm-hmm. And I would guess another 2,800 are unconfirmed?
2 are categorized as confirmed discoveries. The rest are in differing stages of discovery, refutation, and data collection.
I forgot about the 2. Only 2 have been proven to be real?
Yes, the Chateau Quan forest pygmy, who turned out to be an extinct species of primate, and a cave salamander from Yugograd, who is, honestly, quite unremarkable. It's in a zoo somewhere. We cryptozoologists are brutally honest with ourselves, more so even than the public. With cryptids, most cryptids are hoaxes or they are never found. That does not mean we should stop searching.
Then the Insulindian phasmid will be deferred.
Indeed.
It does not
If
smell.
our expedition is successful, every paper in the world will report on it. From Revachol to Duchantu. It will be a zoological miracle.
He has clearly done his math on this. There is no surprising him or swaying his opinion.
Thanks for explaining that. Now about something else.
Yes?
Let's talk about specific cryptids.
All right. What cryptids precisely? I usually discuss these things with specialists, so I don't know what.
We would have to discuss. He wants to say, but decides against it. Since you've offered to help, you need to ask him about specific cryptids. Cryptids you've heard about from Lena or his friend Gary. He won't just talk.
Which cryptid did you almost catch? You said before that you almost caught one.
A willow person. It's a long story. One non-specialist would find rather dull.
Willow people? Not at all.
What are willow people?
They're not people, really. Some argue they aren't really animals, as they seem to have evolved directly from trees.
He says it in a self-explanatory, everyday manner.
They're very, very thin, almost flat in fact, and can camouflage themselves easily, wrapping themselves around trees and blending in with the tree bark. In that way, they're not too dissimilar from the phasmid we're looking for here.
How did you almost catch a willow person? Were you looking at a willow and then realized it wasn't a willow person after all?
Gary and I painted an entire grove's worth of trees in slow-drying paint. It was a bright lavender colour. I was hoping one of the willow people would get paint on it and not be able to camouflage itself. After waiting in hiding for hours, I saw a figure slip from one of the trees, a lavender shadow, dashing through the grove.
And then?
I chased it with a net. Not very elegant. You can't be elegant in the field. And, well, it was faster than me.
A lavender shadow.
He smirks.
I know you think we were snacking on funny mushrooms. It's easier to mock someone than to admit that the world might be more interesting than you've imagined. Furthermore, I'm not saying it was a confirmed sighting. I'm painfully aware of what goes into verifying such things. There is a serious possibility that I saw a squirrel or a trick of the light. I am my own harshest critic.
He is very self-aware, I'll give him that.
He makes it a real point here to sound falsifiable.
And Lena's sighting of the phasmid, is that?
Confirmed. It's 100% verified and meets all the standards of an authentic cryptid sighting.
I know all about the kind green ape. Look, I even have a kind green ape pen.
I see you've been talking about cryptids with Lena. The kind green ape is one of her favourites. We travelled to South Safra to look for it once. Gary and I got stuck in a rainstorm, though, and had to spend most of our time there in a little village. The search was fabulously unsuccessful, but the people were very nice. I'm glad they didn't understand what Gary was saying about them.
What? South Safra? They're just on a different rung of the ladder, Morel. I had no problem with them.
Really? You kept complaining about how dirty everything is, but we digress.
They're a nascent culture. I just didn't feel comfortable. And let's change the topic, okay? Talk about your critters. Or whatever.
He mumbles something. Just tell me about a cool cryptid. Any cryptid?
No offense, officer, but I'm not much of a pedagogue. I don't know what I would have done if Lena hadn't persuaded me to go back to field research. You should ask her if you want interesting stories. Me? I'm not a people person, unless you haven't noticed. And I don't make a good lecturer. My strength lies in field work and persistence.
He brushes an errant strand of hair from his eye. Enough tales, and let's change the subject.
By all means.
I'll get going.